Okay, so this is so important. I'm getting this out of the way before I even get into my intro. The order I did not decide. The order of the draft is not decided by me. It's from the Draft Network. I'm not sure how they did this, but this is the draft order. I didn't decide it. Do not be mad about where your team is. It's irrelevant. Now, what I will say is, in order to avoid confusion on that front, I did an entire mock draft before coming over here, and I was wondering about how to present it. This is the mock draft that I did. You can pause it if you want to see that really quickly. But we're going to change it up because I am going to use this Draft Network thing for presentation, and I think it's going to look better. But here's what I'll say. What's going on, guys? Bengal King here, coming back at you with another video. This is the way too early 2021 NFL mock draft, and I'm going to do this live off the cuff. It's going to be interesting. I'm sure I'm going to screw up because I'm going to forget about signings and drafted players and contract situations where players' contracts might be expiring, so they become positions of need. But I think I'm fairly well versed and educated on knowing where teams might be looking for the 2021 NFL draft. So without further ado, hit that subscribe button if you're new, and we're going to get right into this. The Jaguars are on the clock first. In the first round, they picked Kayvon Chaisson out of LSU, and of course CJ Henderson out of Florida, two SEC guys. This time they're going to go with a different conference, and that is an ACC player in Trevor Lawrence, quarterback out of Clemson. Sorry, I don't think Minshew Mania is legit. Things could change. That's another thing. Things could change with teams where teams are going to be totally in a completely different order, and player hype is going to change completely because Joe Burrow wasn't close to a first-round player before last year, and then he went at #1 overall. So a season can change a lot of things for players that are not already established completely. Things can change big time. Players can fall off. Hype can die down. A lot of different things can happen. So that's why it's fun to do these way too early mock drafts, because you never know what's going to change and what's going to happen and how things will drastically change. You can check out some of my way too early mock drafts of the past, and this one is the earliest one I've ever done. I mean, the draft just ended a few days ago, but Trevor Lawrence is the pick there at #1. Jags on the clock, or not the Jags, excuse me, the Redskins on the clock at #2. And in the first round, they took Chase Young. I think that this probably would be a receiver, given where they are on the board. Maybe even a cornerback. At cornerback, I think the one that stands out the most is Patrick Surtain. He was so incredible at Alabama as a freshman and a sophomore. We'll see what his junior season has in store. And Sean Wade is also an option. Is Patrick Surtain, is he a true? Yeah, he's a junior. I didn't want to make a mistake. I knew he started as a true freshman. I wasn't sure if I made a mistake and it was a redshirt freshman. But I'm going to go with the receiver. That's going to be Jamar Chase. They really don't have too much on the offensive side of the ball. I know Scary Terry's a beast. I think Dwayne Haskins is going to take a big step up. We'll see if that happens or not. I feel like I'm the only believer in Dwayne Haskins. Everyone thinks he sucks, but he was actually pretty good down the stretch for the Redskins with, again, nothing besides Terry McLaurin. They get a good, borderline great receiver on the other side in Jamar Chase. Bengals back on the board. They're going to go Penei Sewell out of Oregon. They need offensive line help pretty badly. Even with the addition of Jonah Williams, they didn't really address tackle too much in the draft. This is a tackle spot that could help them out greatly in Penei Sewell. A potential franchise tackle for them, was so good as a freshman and sophomore at Oregon. And now, of course, the Bengals get him with the third pick. Panthers at #4. I think Teddy Bridgewater is a bridge quarterback, and I don't think he's the franchise there. And with a guy like Justin Fields on the board at #4, I think the Panthers would be hard-pressed to pass up on that. He's such a talented player. It's really 1A and 1B right now for me with Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields. Lawrence is that more prototypical classic quarterback, but he's got great mobility as well. Justin Fields offers also intriguing athleticism with a really, really good arm. His accuracy is underrated, and he'd be a really, really fun pickup for the Panthers there. Jets at #5. I think this is going to be Gregory Rosso out of Miami. Really, really athletic freak pass rusher for the U, and was super productive last year. I think he put up like 15-ish sacks last year. So the Jets, who have nothing on the edge, get a really, really good player to go on the edge. That's a player that I would really like to be available if the Giants were picking at #6, but unfortunately, he goes. I'm a Giants fan, and the Giants have a number of different options here. Of course, wide receiver, I think, is going to be a big need at this time. You look at guys like Golden Tate aging and not being too good, and then not being too much else outside of Darius Slayton, who had a great year last year as a rookie. Sterling Shepard, I think, will be coming up to the end of his contract in a year or two at this point. And also, he's a slot receiver. They need another receiver. They need, a big target, not necessarily in terms of size, but in terms of ability, with a game changer at that position. They lack top-end speed at receiver. Although Darius Slayton, he is fast. He's just not really like the typical speed guy. So I wouldn't be shocked to see receiver go here. Jalen Waddell is my favorite player in college football. He is super, super fun and exciting. Justin Ross is a huge target. Devontae Smith is maybe the best of both worlds in terms of speed, technique with route running, and hands. Out of the three of those guys, Rashad Bateman was awesome for Minnesota last year. Rondale Moore is a jack-of-all-trades, do-it-all type player. So there are a number of options if the Giants wanted to go receiver there. They need edge rusher really, really badly as well. They need linebacker. They need so many different things still. And I think that Micah Parsons actually might be the look here, as I'm going to take him. Giants take Micah Parsons. Lions back on the clock at number 7. Of course, they picked at number 3 a year ago at this point in Jeff Okudah. Even though it's just a couple of days ago, we'll have to see what happens there. I think they're an outside shot at a quarterback based on Matthew Stafford, dealing with a bunch of injuries and getting a bit older, but he's still good when he's healthy. So if we're, not really factoring that in too much, I'm not sure they would go quarterback here. Probably they would more look for wide receiver. Marvin Jones and Kenny Golladay both have expiring contracts up at this point. So I think that could definitely be a thing that happens. Edge, Carlos Basham out of Wake Forest is an option. I think I'm going to give them Devontae Smith out of Alabama. Really, really solid player. Offers a big weapon. And again, this is going to change a lot depending on what happens with Kenny Golladay and with Marvin Jones and with Matthew Stafford over this next season. But there are the Dolphins picking at number 8. A lot of options for the Dolphins here. I'm not sure wide receiver is going to be the biggest of issues and biggest of team needs at this time, depending on how Preston Williams develops. Devontae Parker had a breakout season last year. Offensive line is still terrible for the Dolphins, so they could look to definitely take an offensive lineman. What's available? This might just be a BPA type situation as well. Javon Holland out of Oregon. I'm not sure that's... safety is interesting for the Dolphins. They don't really have much there. They really address cornerback heavily. So I guess safety would make a ton of sense. So Javon Holland, maybe even Andre Sisco out of Syracuse. Even Hamza Nasiruddin, kind of forgot about him. He's a bigger safety. Richard LeCount could be someone that goes high in the first round. He's a really good player. Caden Stearns had a down year at Texas last year, struggled with injuries, but he could be a player that gets first round buzz again. I think I'm going to give them... I think Richard LeCount could end up being a top 10 type player. So I'm going to give the Dolphins Richard LeCount at 8. Really, really good athlete. Good center field type safety. So the Dolphins get a very good player. And then they have back-to-back picks. We're going to address the offensive side of the ball here with either a receiver or a tackle. And I think that the potential of Walker Little is going to be, or Sam Cosmi, is going to be too much for the Dolphins to pass up. And Sam Cosmi's been a beast for the Texas Longhorns. Of course, I'm a Longhorns fan. I've watched every game of his college career. He's been a beast. And then Walker Little to the Broncos makes a ton of sense there. He has a ton of potential. I felt like he dealt with injury a little bit last year, but he is back in this mock draft. He was draft eligible last year. That's why I watched a lot of him. But now he is entering the draft as a senior, I believe. And yeah, and we'll see if he goes top 10. Broncos need tackle viciously. Didn't really address it too much in this draft. I'm not even sure they took a tackle at all. Definitely not within the first few rounds, as they went wide receiver, cornerback, center with their first 4 picks. Falcons at number 11. This could be a running back spot. I know they have Todd Gurley. Maybe it wouldn't be. This could also be something on the defensive side of the ball. What did I give them in my other mock? I'm not sure. They could use defensive tackle. I know they just drafted Marlon Davidson. Could use an edge rusher depending on if Takk McKinley returns or not. I think he'd be in his contract year at this point, so that could be an option. Their offensive line should be good at this point, with Matt Hennessy potentially taking over at starting center. Could go tight end. Ooh, could go tight end. Freiermuth out of Penn State. He could be an option. Brevin Jordan out of Miami is quite good as well. They have Kyle Pitts ranked really, really highly. It'll be interesting to see the type of season he has this next season. Maybe a bit too early for a tight end. We could give him the top-ranked edge rusher in Carlos Basham. You know who I also like quite a bit is Quincy Roche out of Miami. He was at Temple previously and just transferred. It's going to be really, really interesting to see his level of production because I think he could be in this range for sure. Oh, yeah, I gave them a linebacker and Micah Parsons, who is now off the board. And I think Dylan Moses actually would be an excellent pick for them. They don't have much outside of Deion Jones. So I think a typical off-the-ball linebacker is going to be a really big need for them. Dylan Moses could fit the bill there. Number 12, we have the Arizona Cardinals. They had a very interesting offseason, bringing in DeAndre Hopkins, bringing in Isaiah Simmons. This could be a wide receiver. But edge rusher is what I gave them in my mock draft earlier. They have nothing really outside of Chandler Jones, so I think edge is definitely going to be the selection here. I think I actually gave them Quincy Roche, and I'm not going to change from that. We're going to give them Quincy Roche there at number 12. Bears at number 13. This could be a quarterback spot. Jamie Newman transferred from Wake Forest to Georgia, and he was already an interesting prospect, and now playing at a huge school in a huge conference. This is going to be a very, very telling season for him, depending on the type of hype he continues to have. So Bears get their potential franchise QB at number 13. Raiders at number 14. Again, this is another outside shot at a QB. I think the next one off the board would probably even be, even Trey Lance out of North Dakota State. He had this ungodly record last year. He had I want to say close to 30 touchdowns and no picks, something crazy. So, we saw Carson Wentz go at number 2 previously from North Dakota State. A lot of value there. They still need to address their secondary. Cornerback is definitely in play here at number 14. Could go with another Ohio State guy, get Sean Wade playing alongside Damon Arnett again. The top 2 corners are still on the board. I'm going to lean towards Sean Wade in front of the hometown Cleveland Browns, of course. Columbus and Cleveland aren't particularly close, even though Ohio is not a huge state. But the Browns do not have the opportunity to take him because the Raiders jump in front and do. Browns at number 15, number of different directions. I don't think they need a tackle. Right guard is a big need for them. I don't think defensive tackle is a huge need. I think Larry Ogunjobi is going to be a free agent after this season, but they have Sheldon Richardson still, I think, another year. They have Jordan Elliott, who they drafted in the 3rd round out of Mizzou this year. Wide receiver might be a bigger need than I think anyone realizes for them. Edge is a big need. Olivier Vernon might not be on the team at this point. Sorry, just know I looked down and it was my fingers bleeding. That's always fun. I don't know. That keeps happening to me. And my nose is so itchy. My hair's in my face. It's so many different issues at the moment that you guys do not care about. You want to get back to the football. And I understand you on that. I want to get back to it as well. Could even go corner. I know they have Greedy Williams. It'll be interesting to see how he develops. I don't think cornerback's out of the question here. I think the Titans or Jaguars could definitely take a corner at number 16 or 17. And the Vikings even could at number 18. They lost 2 corners this past year. I know they have Mike Hughes. I know they drafted Jeff Gladney, but cornerback is definitely still in play there, in my opinion, although wide receiver might be a pick that goes there. I think they might take a receiver. We're going to give the Browns a lot of elite speed in Jalen Waddell, who is a burner. Offers a lot of good ball skills as well. Decent route runner. I love Jalen Waddell. He's incredible. He's an exceptional player. Titans at number 16. I think that wide receiver is a bigger need than the Draft Network has it right now. I know they have Corey Davis. I know A.J. Brown had a breakout season. There's not a whole lot outside of those two. There really isn't. And Corey Davis really has not lived up to that top 5 pick whatsoever. Defensive tackle is a big need. Or interior defensive line, I should say, in general. I think Daquan Jones has an expiring contract in the near future. They have Jeffrey Simmons. They traded Jarrell Casey away. This could be an interior defensive lineman or just a defensive lineman in general with potential to move over. And I think Jalen Twyman has that defensive end potential. 290 pounds. Great athleticism for him. So he'd be a big guy to fit their 3-4 defense. I like that pick a lot. I'm actually going to give it to him. Jalen Twyman, 3-4 defensive end, 4-3 defensive tackle, probably your traditional 3-tech or 2-tech, and he'll fit in really, really well in Tennessee. Jags back on the clock for the second time. This pick comes from the Rams in the Jalen Ramsey trade. They took a quarterback earlier. We're going to give him, I mean, Tyler Eifert signed a 1-year deal. Could go with a tight end here. Tackle's still a huge need for them. In fact, I'm probably going to give them a tackle. And that's going to be Alex Leatherwood out of Alabama. He probably would have been near a first-round pick if he entered the draft last year, going back for his senior season in Alabama. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. Vikings could take a receiver here. Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, not much else outside of that. Adam Thielen is aging as well. Receiver could be a really big need. I think I'm going to give him one. That might be Rashad Bateman out of Minnesota. I'm keeping the Minnesota player in Minnesota. I think it's a fun storyline. And it's, the way too early mock draft. Kind of who cares? It's not like, oh, maybe Justin Ross is a slightly better player, even though we're not really sure what's going to happen this next season. Who knows what could happen? Chargers at number 19. This has to be a tackle. Has to be. And Alaric Jackson out of Iowa is someone that has been solid for them. Started at left tackle over the past few years. Of course, we just saw Tristan Wirfs go in the first round. Well, Alaric Jackson was a very solid player on the other side of him for the Iowa Hawkeyes. At number 20, the Steelers get another first-round pick. Of course, they traded their one last year, or this year, as I record this, for Minkah Fitzpatrick, who had a Defensive Player of the Year type caliber season. What do the Steelers do here at 20? I mean, quarterback's kind of an obvious one with Big Ben coming up to the end of his contract and career probably. And I think I would honestly lean towards Trey Lance at this point, and I'm going to give him a quarterback. Colts at number 21. I think they'd probably stay away from taking a corner. I know they have Phillip Rivers. I don't know what his future is going to be there. He doesn't have much of a future in the NFL at this point. You look at Jacoby Brissett. How much longer is he going to be there? They just drafted Jacob Eason. I think this is probably more of a tight end spot for them, honestly. Jack Doyle is getting older and probably to the end of his contract. They don't have Eric Ebron anymore. They do like to run a lot of 2 tight end sets. So tight end definitely could be an option. I also think defensive tackle is an option here, and that's actually what I'm going to lean towards. I'm going to give him Marvin Wilson out of Florida State. Colts get a really good interior defensive lineman. Patriots at 22. Well, this is a team that's probably going to be picking, I would say, a little bit higher than this. And I know they don't usually look to trade up for a QB, but I think they're going to have to. A lot of quarterbacks going off the board. I think they're going to be maybe even eyeing Trey Lance out of North Dakota State. This is a quarterback spot for sure. This has a ton of potential to be a QB. They could go with a wide receiver as well. I think Justin Ross would be tough value to pass up. Patrick Surtain being on the board at 22 would be really tough for them to pass up. And I'm not actually sure that I can. I'm going to give him Patrick Surtain. They're going to find a way to get a quarterback probably in the next draft. Other, free agency, trade, who knows. But I just can't let Patrick Surtain go at this point. I don't love any of the quarterbacks in the first round at this point. And knowing what we know now, a lot could change and a lot will change. Bills at number 23. Probably very upset that Patrick Surtain was not available here. I think this is a potential spot for a safety. I don't think they need cornerback that badly because they'll have Tre'Davious White, Levi Wallace, Teron Johnson. They'll have some corners. More so, they're going to need to replace potentially Micah Hyde in the future, but more specifically Jordan Poyer. So Javon Holland could be a really good spot here, although Micah Hyde is more of that free safety spot. So we might give him Hamza Nasiruddin, who's definitely a bigger safety, 6'4", 215, has some linebacker potential, big in-the-box guy, and he's going to go to the Bills at 23. That's your Jordan Poyer eventual replacement. Packers at number 24. I'm going to give them a wide receiver, something they probably should have done in this last class. Justin Ross it is. We're not going to spend too much time thinking about it. They went anything they could to go away from receiver this past year. Went with quarterback, traded up for Jordan Love, which I don't hate. I don't hate that at all. Then they took Josiah DeGuara, and, well, first they took a third running back in Boston College's, why am I blanking on his name? A.J. Dillon. Took A.J. Dillon. It just, sometimes when you're talking, it kind of escapes your mind, but that's why I had to take a second to pause and cough, although I probably cut the cough out, because that's disgusting. And I have coronavirus. That's what it is. Don't demonetize me for saying that, please. Eagles at number 25. This is corner or wide receiver. I'm probably going to... Or safety, actually. This is a Javon Holland spot. They don't really have much in the way of safeties. I know they took Kayvon Wallace. This could be a safety spot very, very easily. Seahawks at 26. Probably upset that Hamson Nasir-Dean got drafted, but what can we do here? What's classic Seahawks? We'll probably look for something on the defensive side of the ball. Definitely want to make sure to scroll all the way down the board. How about Patrick Johnson at a Tulane? Could be in play here for the Seahawks at 26. What do they have at corner? Paulson Adebo actually fits the Seahawks pretty well. He is adept in zone coverage. I'm going to give the Seahawks Paulson Adebo. They'll probably reach way further down the board than that, but Paulson Adebo it is. Buccaneers on the clock at 27. This is a receiver spot. This could be a QB spot as well with Tom Brady being old, like really old. Edge spot as well. I mean, you look at Shaq Barrett needing something on the other side of him. But wide receiver could get a good third one in there. Let's give him an edge rusher. Defensive tackle is a need for them as well. I think Carlos Basham makes sense there at 27 if he's still available. Cowboys on the clock at 28. I love their top three needs for what the Cowboys have. I mean, that's really just true. I think edge should be higher as well. But safety, corner, tight end. This is probably a tight end, honestly. And I'm probably going to give them Freiermuth out of Penn State. They really only have, Blake Jarwin there. They need another tight end. They need a starting caliber tight end and a really good one in Pat Freiermuth out of Penn State. Saints at number 29. This, I think, it should be considered a QB spot, but we're going to give him wide receiver. And Rondale Moore is exactly the player the Saints might be looking for. Versatility, elite speed, playmaker in all facets of the game, offense and special teams. Saints get themselves a stud and someone that complements Michael Thomas very, very well. 49ers at 30. I'm going to give him a center in Creed Humphrey. He is an easy pick for me there. They need center. Creed Humphrey's available. Why not? Ravens at 31. Now, Matt Judon's playing on the franchise tag. They didn't really address edge in the draft very much. I don't think tight end's a huge need for them. Obviously, they have Mark Andrews. I know they run a lot of multi-tight end sets. They have the run blocking extraordinaire. They tried to get more involved in the pass game last year in Nick Boyle, but this has to be an edge rusher. They have nothing outside of Matt Judon, really. I know Calais Campbell's there. He is 35 years old and more of a 3-4 defensive end, ideally than an edge rusher. So they need another edge, someone with some not only versatility to play in that multiple front that often they run in Baltimore, but someone needs to fly off the edge. And I think Joe Tryon out of Washington is going to be my guy here. A lot of athleticism out of Washington. He is big, 6'4", 250. Offers the Ravens a lot there. And at number 32 to end this out, I am going to give the Chiefs probably... I mean, they could use a right guard here, and that might be what I take. Wyatt Davis out of Ohio State, I'm sold. That is going to be my mock draft. Let me know where you disagree. I'm sure with all of it, there are a ton of players that could sneak in. Obviously, I didn't have Travis Etienne. I didn't have Najee Harris. We saw one running back go this year, and this was in a stronger RB class than we're getting next year. So I could see a running back going, of course. The Bucs are a running back spot. I think Carlos Basham might even go earlier. But this is the way the mock draft ended up shaking out for me. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. I know you're watching this right now, some of you in 2021, trying to see what's going to happen, and you're like, oh my god, this is so wrong. And that is correct. I think the top 5 is probably going to stay somewhat locked in terms of those guys. Maybe not top 5, but I think Fields, Lawrence, Chase, Sewell are guys that will go inside the top 10. Other than that, I think it's kind of a crapshoot. But that's going to do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. Take it easy.